Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Our Sports Podcast. We have episode 4 up today. Please make sure you leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. We can get some conversation going. Talk about what we're talking about today. We have some edge rushers, and the big thing, we have another guest. First, I will introduce Matt. How's it going today, bro?
It's going pretty good. We're actually pumping out some episodes. It feels kind of nice to actually be doing this. I don't know how many people listen, but I appreciate every single person. So we also have Mike here, and Mike, you want to introduce yourself? Say what NFL team you align with.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, guys. I am a very diehard Bears fan. The good and the bad that comes with that. So, been a huge fan of your podcast for the last few weeks here. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. Thanks for having me, Big C.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. We have the Red Rifle himself in the call today. Andy Dalton, Mike Duffy. What are the differences? I'm not quite sure. I'm excited to have you on. We have a big thing that you would like to talk about in edge rushers. You have a fairly good one on the Bears. And without further ado, I'm going to let Matt take over the reins, and we will start at number 32.
Thank you for that. And just a reminder, everyone, of how exactly this works. It works by I only look up the top pass rusher. I deliberate and say this is the top pass rusher based on 2019, 2018 stats, things like that, my knowledge of the players, et cetera, et cetera. So without further ado, as Christian said, we're going to start with the Giants and Lorenzo Carter. I don't really know much about him. I think he had a couple good seasons, but last season he was real low, 1 sack, only 7 QB pressures. I'm not exactly sure how that worked. I know that they have other people on the line, on the defensive line. I know the Giants' defense was good overall, but it seemed like he struggled a little bit, at least for that part. Next, we have the Texans at 31. We have Whitney Merciless. Whitney Merciless is, from my memory, a fairly good player, but it's really hard when J.J. Watt's always hurt and you're not really meant to be the lead pass rusher. So he had 4 sacks, 10 pressures, just an okay season, but overall nothing really too encouraging. Next, we have the Falcons at 30. Dante Fowler, left the Rams with that Aaron Donald front and has gotten worse every season. I would assume that he's going to continue to regress. So I would say that he's not someone that you want to really put the back of your team or put the team on his back or anything like that. He's a number 30 pass rusher. Next, we have the Colts. I kind of assumed the Colts defense would be higher. It seems like pass rushers, at least on teams that have notably quote unquote good defenses, don't always have the best pass rushers. So now we have Taekwon Lewis, 4 sacks and 16 pressures, nothing to really really proud of. Maybe he was in a backup situation, and that could be for a lot of these players. I don't really know how free agencies change the team. I don't know too much about that, but Taekwon Lewis seems just kind of a lower end pass rusher. Next, we have the Ravens with Tyus Bowser. I'm a big fan of Tyus Bowser, being a Ravens fan. We got a great deal in re-signing him. I am a little worried him being our number 1 pass rusher. I think that if he got more on the field time, he would definitely produce in the high 20s range, but I don't really see him as a premier pass rusher. So I do really worry about the Ravens in that sense. He's great off the ball. He has gotten a decent amount of interceptions for a outside linebacker, so good for him, but he's not that great of a pass rusher. Next, we have the Bills with Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes, he's been in the NFL a while. Overall, just an all right season. He's had some up and down seasons. Overall, just your average steady pass rusher, someone that you definitely would like as a number 2, but probably not as your best pass rusher. So maybe that's something the Bills could work on in the offseason. Next, we have the Jets with Carl Lawson, big addition from the Cincinnati Bengals. He had a pretty good season, if I do remember correctly, but this season he had a lot of pressures, not a lot of sacks. But other than that, he hasn't really been that great of a pass rusher overall in his career. I think that he had one good season with good pressures, which is similar to someone like Matt Judon, who just gets a lot of pressures but doesn't get a lot of sacks. And I don't really rate that. I know sacks aren't everything, but as a pass rusher, I think that being a good pass rusher does translate to sacks in a way, but not all the time. Next, we have Demarcus Lawrence. I'm surprised he's as low as he is. He's just been declining with age. Just is what it is. But he's a fairly good pass rusher. It's just about where he belongs. Next, we have Frank Clark. So this one would probably come as a surprise because most people would have Frank Clark a lot higher. But for me, he really struggles. He's really been struggling recently, and his sacks and his pressures have been going down at an alarming rate. If you look at it from year to year. I definitely think he's in the strong decline, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs move on from him rather soon. Next, we have the big additions in the Patriots, both Judon and Van Noy. We're going to be looking at mostly Judon stats, get better stats, but I think they're kind of comparable players. Judon's one for getting a lot of pressures, and overall, he does a good job at that. So he's not a world beater. I don't think you'd want him as a pass rusher one, but I think the combo of Van Noy and Judon will be pretty good with the Patriots. Next, we have Yannick Ngakoue. He's a speed rusher, not a lot of power in his drive. He speeds around the end. He bends really well, but overall, not a super great threat. At least when I saw him on the Ravens, I think that he could improve this next season. He was moving around a lot of teams. He signed a rather low contract. I hope to see him improve, but right now this is where I have him. So I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna go to Christian for some thoughts on this first part of the list. Any thoughts? Let's hear it.
Yeah, it's very interesting what a significant lack of name recognition I have on the bottom half of this list. If you wanted me to tell you who Taekwon Lewis was, like I wouldn't tell you a team, I wouldn't tell you a position. I have no clue. So I think that speaks to the overall general quality of the players we have down here on the bottom half. I do think that potentially Frank Clark is seeing a little bit of like double teaming and things like that, since he's the best player on that Chiefs defensive line, so you can really focus someone down. I would agree that I don't think he's top tier as he used to be anymore. I'm a big Carl Lawson guy. If the Titans did not end up with Bud Dupree, I would have definitely wanted us to fight for Carl Lawson. I think that him being on the Bengals in a situation where basically a newborn baby can throw for 400 yards against that back defense, getting pressures is very good because everyone's wide open all the time against the Bengals. So I'm a big Carl Lawson guy. I think the Jets have done a lot of great free agency moves in general. Hopefully they can match a quarterback and a scheme up that lends itself towards a more successful path they have not been headed down. But overall, we have people who, failing with age, Demarcus Lawrence, people who took the world by storm, Dante Fowler, and just have fell off completely the face of the earth. I will say Lorenzo Carter did me very well when we used to play Madden on a franchise season. I was the Giants. He was the only good player on the defense for those seasons. But overall, I think everything's hitting the nail on the head. I think Van Noy might be a little bit more of an off-ball backer, but it doesn't really matter. He still ends up rushing. Pretty straightforward list. I have some questions about some players above, but without that, I'm just going to hand the mic over to young Mike and bring us with your introduction. What do you have? What do you want to talk about, big man?
Yeah, I want to kind of go over the list that Matt gave us. I can resonate with you, Christian. I do agree with a lot of them. There's a few I would move around though. With the Giants, that's fair. I don't think they really have anything to speak of when it comes to any kind of rushing talent. Texans, Falcons, that makes sense. I would say the Colts. I would say Taekwon Lewis would need to be higher. I think there's a reason that the Colts defense ranked, I think it was 11 or 12th in total sacks last year. Maybe he was more of he wasn't the big man when it came to the sacks. He was more of a support player that kind of took up double teams. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but one thing I try to look at when looking at any player is who's surrounding them and why are they benefiting. So I would probably put the Colts a little higher. I would say probably 22, 21, something around there. With the Ravens, if your player has the same last name as a fictional character that has failed to capture a princess for years on end, then I mean, there's no arguing that they're absolute, just abysmal. I'd probably put them at 34.
Are you saying that Tyus Bowser is awful due to the fact that he has the namesake of a anamorphic turtle that attacks a plumber?
Yeah, and mind you, he always
love it.
loses to that plumber.
He does always lose.
I mean, name one time that Bowser has won.
I used to play Bowser in Mario Kart, and I think I've never lost a Mario Kart race, so I believe that would be win.
That's fair, but did he get the princess? I don't think he did.
I have so many women, it's ridiculous. So by the transitive property, yes.
All right, well, anyways, I'm gonna put him at like 34 or something like that. I mean, he just doesn't even belong on this list. Sorry, Matt. It's got to be that way. Bills, Seahawks, Jets all make sense. And again, when it comes to the Seahawks, I don't know anything about Kerry Hyder, but does it come down to how many times they blitz Jamal Adams? Are they able to, is he blitzing on the opposite side of him?
That is true. We should have put Jamal Adams on the list.
I mean, really, I was looking. He had like top 10 most blitzes. Like he was sent on a blitz. I think it was like the 10th most amount of times or something crazy like that.
Yeah, safety is a very loose description of his position.
Yeah, sorry, 7th. And it's not even close with any other kind of safety other than, gosh, I hate going into safeties, but Malcolm Jenkins is 76 next. So I don't know. Does Kerry benefit from that? Does he falter from that? I don't know. So I can't really speak too much on that, but really the rest of the list that you went up to really makes a lot of sense to me. I think the Patriots are going to be really good next year, unfortunately. So I don't know, man. That was a good list. The only things I would move is the Ravens and the Colts.
Yeah, thankfully we had 1 year of peace with the Patriots not being a top tier organization in the league. But unfortunately, it looks like they might be coming back into the fray after all of these big splashes in free agency and rumors of a quarterback move on the horizon. And with all that, there's rumors that they've been trying to trade for Jimmy G as of late.
Wow. Oh, bringing him back. All right.
They're bringing back. Bill was a big Jimmy G guy. So we'll have to see how that unfolds and how the free agency affects the Patriots as an entire organization. So I'm going to hand it back over to Matt. Pick up where you left off. Add any comments you feel like we need to talk about from the previous. But here you go.
Yeah, I felt the whole Bowser thing was a little bit of a tangent, but it is what it is. And for you, the only comment I really had was I think Chandler Jones, who was also on the Chiefs defensive line, who's probably a top 10 defensive lineman, would have something to say about double teams. So I don't really know the stats on that. Don't really want to get into
I thought Chandler Jones was on the Cardinals.
Not Chandler Jones. Who was I thinking of?
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones. There we go. That guy.
Yeah, I thought Chris Jones was Chandler Jones. So beat that.
Yeah, me too. All right. So at 20, we have Emmanuel Ogbah. He had one good year. I think that could just be the Dolphins getting better as a whole. So I think I hope that he improves, but he only had one good year. Next, we have Romeo. I don't know, some Lions guy. There was him and I think Trey Flowers. That could be a mistake. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of the Flowers. He was a Patriots player. He's more consistent. But Trey Flowers. Romeo Akara. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He had 10 sacks this season, which is pretty good. But it was his only season where he had a really, really good season. Next, we have Trey Hendrickson. He is a lot lower than a lot of people would think he would be. But if you look at his stats over like a couple years, they were very low. He had one really good season, and it was this season. So I'm curious whether that will continue. I don't think that him going to the Bengals after they cut Atkins, after they cut Dunlap, after they get rid of what's his name? Carl Lawson. Yeah. So after they get rid of all of them, I don't think it's going to be a real conducive environment for him to repeating anything close to what he did this year across from Cam Jordan. So next we have Josh Allen. He should probably not be this low, but his 2019 was so bad I couldn't even put up the stats, and like I have a little stat extra cells right now. I couldn't even put him up there because they were just so bad. I mean, last season in 2019, he had 10.5 sacks and 39 pressures. Really respectable, especially on a team like the Jaguars. However, this season was just so bad. I don't know if it was due to injury or what exactly it was due to. He didn't play. I think he was out 11 games in this season. So I'm kind of curious if he's going to bounce back. But I know talent-wise, he's definitely should be higher than this. It's just based on his most recent showing, I don't know. I don't really know what's wrong with him and what's not working. Next, we have Brandon Graham, as Alex affectionately said, Pro Bowler Brandon Graham. So it's nice to see him get a payday after everything he's done for the team. I think that he's a pretty good pass rusher. I definitely think he could be a pass rusher one. He's on a line with Fletcher Cox, and I mean them two really hold down a really stout Eagles defense. So good for them. Next we have Leonard Floyd. He came over from the Bears and had a great season. I kind of see him as a Dante Fowler replacement, and I think he did a phenomenal job. He knows his role in the team, and it's to make up for the fact that Aaron Donald's going to be doubled and tripled, and take advantage of that. And I think that he did that really, really well. He's definitely a pass rusher too, but I mean he showed his worth this season. And he got a big payday out of it, so I guess good for him. And I think I'm going to stop there, and we'll just go over the next four after I ask Mike what his opinion on these ones of the list are. So, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, as a Bears fan, I can't say Romeo Okwara was really solid. It's interesting because I think he only started less than 16 games. I don't know exactly how many, but he was pretty solid. I was always kind of worried about him, and like you said, I don't remember who his counterpart was, but he definitely alleviated some of the pressure from him. I mean that's a good one to have at 19 there, maybe marginally higher up in the list, but Broncos Bradley Chubb, that he is playing incredible for having absolutely no support with him. I mean, think about it. Von Miller was slated to start the season. He's been an all-pro pass rusher his whole career. Kind of gets wiped out, and I mean, Chubb still put up really good numbers. So I could argue that he's up towards 15, 14. We have him at 18, but I mean that's small, a little too small to really care about it too much.
Did you say Chubb's at 18?
We do have Chubb at 18.
We have Trey Hendrickson at 18.
Sorry,
The Bengals guy.
misheard.
And we have Bradley Chubb at 12.
Apologies.
Yep. So hey, you guys are very similar on your assessments of the players. Trey Hendrickson is that random white guy that used to play for the Saints that for some reason people think is a good pass rusher.
I never did. I think he benefited from them spending $400 million in the span of 1 year on their team. So that's an interesting pickup by the Bengals. I'm not really agreeing with that, but Josh Allen, the quarterback, he does it all. He can pass rush, he can play quarterback. So good for him. I could say a lot about Leonard Floyd. I probably know the most about him. Do I think he's as good as where we have him? No. I think he benefits a ton from playing with Aaron Donald. And you could argue, well, he played with Khalil Mack, the greatest player to touch the NFL turf ever, and he didn't do as well. But playing with Aaron Donald I think it's just different when you have Floyd rushing on one side and Mack on the other side. Same thing that happened with Robert Quinn. They just didn't produce. I don't think he's as good as where we have him. I think he benefits from the other people in the line, but I hate him. I think he only got one sack for us in 2019, so I think he belongs right in front of Bowser at 33.
I love and respect that. It was all completely rational until I hate him. I think he belongs at 33. Wouldn't have it any other way. I'll speak a little bit. I did like what I see from the two hard to pronounce people, the Romeo Okwara and Emmanuel Agba. this year. I think that they could continue that, but I think they might have had a little bit of a fluky season where their production might not maintain, which is where I think the Bengals screwed up in not re-signing Carl Lawson and going for Trey Hendrickson. I think Carl Lawson is just inherently better than Trey. And the tape and the stats will prove from here on out. But other than that, I think Josh Allen, I don't know why we think he had an abysmal first year. He didn't produce statistically, but he did end up receiving a vote for Defensive Rookie of the Year. So he did have an impact. It just might not have been shown statistically. I remember watching him going, oh gosh, Josh Allen is kind of a menace. And him turning it around this year and having great success. But overall, yeah, Brandon Graham, I think I think I remember him from the Super Bowl runs, and he was funny. I know nothing about Leonard Floyd other than Mike hates him. So I think in general, this whole area here is very up and down. But I'm liking the conversation, liking where everything's heading, and I'm gonna pass it back to the old Matt Attack to hit us back up with the remaining portion of the list. Matt.
Alrighty, so we're gonna start at 14 and probably go down to 11, so it's gonna be a little bit shorter. Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns. I think Brian Burns is more of an honorable mention in here. But Hassan Reddick had a better season, but Brian Burns is also very, very good. That Panthers pass rush is looking like a pretty good 1-2 punch. But Hassan Reddick kind of filled in when Chandler Jones went down. There's Chandler Jones. He had a fairly good season, 12.5 sacks, 34 pressures. It's pretty good, but he hasn't performed in the past. So I'm interested to see when he transitions to this new defense. If he can keep this up, I think that 14 is kind of the right spot for him. I'm not going to put him up there with people who have produced consistently, but he definitely showed a ton of promise. You look at someone like Shaq Barrett, who had that one season that when he went to Tampa Bay that was just off the charts. I think it was like almost 20 sacks, if not 20 sacks. It kind of felt something like that to a lesser degree. So Shaq Barrett's coming up, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. Next, we have Montez Sweat. He's just produced better and better each season. I think that he had a better season than Chase Young, and I think him and Chase Young are going to wreak havoc. I mean, they got rid of Ryan Kerrigan on their line, pretty much kicked him out of town for the time being unless he resigns with them. So a pretty good duo there in Washington. Next, we have Bradley Chubb. I had him a lot lower, send my list out for my peers to look at and get some feedback. And I didn't realize that I believe he was hurt for some of the season or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but he definitely had a pretty good season overall, and I think that he's gonna keep on improving. But his talent wise, he's a very, very good player. And finally, at number 11, we have Nick Bosa. Got hurt this season. I think only played like one game, but his 2019 stats were 9 sacks, 45 pressures. Really, really good for a rookie pass rusher. 45 pressures is what I'm most astounded by. So, I mean, overall, he's going to go back to a little bit of a weaker unit the 49ers once he returns in terms of their defensive line across from Eric Armstead. But I think that he should be able to produce fairly well again. He's a really good talent, and yeah, I'm excited to see how he does this season. So, without further ado, Christian, what are your thoughts on those 4?
Hi, I'm very happy that per my suggestion and conversation, we have moved Montez Sweat out of the top 10 pass rushers on the list. I don't think he's quite there yet. Sure, we can give him 13. I think Chase Young is better than him, and I think ate up a lot of more attention than Montez Sweat did, allowing him to break free and get some of those pressures that made his stats look better than what I think his performance actually is. So that's all good. Bradley Chubb's deserving, especially when you lose Von Miller for a whole year. And I can't imagine, anybody celebrating the fact that Von Miller got hurt during that first game or anything. But same thing. We have a lot of ACL tears here with Nick Bosa too. A lot of potential in this area here with Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns going to have potentially breakout seasons. Well, Hassan already had his. Brian Spider-Man himself, Burns, could continue on an upward trend. We have to see. But in general, I don't have too much to say here. There's a lot of budding. There's a lot of this is like the purgatory of the list. Are they going to be the best? Are they going to maintain at a consistent rate and be good, not great? It's all up for us to see in the future. And now I'm gonna hand it over to young boy, bear boy, Mikael. What do you have for me?
Thanks, Big Swaggy C. I really do appreciate that introduction. Um, yeah, I agree with Matt. I think I would even put Hassan Riddick up a few more, probably above Sweat and Bradley Chubb. I know I was kind of really hyping Bradley Chubb up, but I really think Hassan Riddick's just marginally better. Just kind of looking at just how his season went, and if we're basing this off of last season, then obviously he's better. But being on the Panthers is I wouldn't even want to be on the Panthers. And I think I would be a pretty solid all-star safety or something, but I don't think I would choose the Panthers as my team. So
I'm
I'd probably put
sorry.
him up
I'm sorry. All-star safety for what? Like did you make a player in Madden and like devote like 99 stats to everything or what?
I am the player and I have the stats and I'm a 90, probably 97 overall, I'd say.
You're the
So
player.
I'm the player in real life, IRL.
Wasn't the best player on your flag football team in college a woman?
No, we benefited from having a woman as our QB because it was co-ed.
I think that you were not the best player on your team, and it was in fact the women. I'm not saying that women can't be better. I'm just saying for this particular instance, there are no women in the NFL, and Mike is trying to claim that he's better. And so it's just kind of a little bit of a conundrum you've wrapped yourself up into here, huh?
All right, so moving up on my list. Moving up on my list, I'm gonna go number 10. We're gonna go with Bud Dupree from the Titans.
Woo!
I do not think he's a top 10 pass rusher. It's just
Oh,
really hard
I rescind my woo.
based on the stats. I think it's really hard to not put him up there. I think that he benefited greatly from having TJ Watt in the lineup. As soon as TJ Watt joined the lineup, he was starting to have really, really good seasons. Combined with the fact that they have Tuitt and Hayward on that line. So overall, I think he's going to suffer a little bit his stats, but I do think he's a good pass rusher. I really like Bud Dupree as a player. I think he's talented. I just don't really think he's top 10, but I put him here based on like his performance. His performance is impeccable, but just my personal view is it came from having a lot of other really good players around him. So I'm going to be curious to see. I mean, when he goes to the Titans line, he's going to have Simmons, and he's going to have Evans, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christian. As
Harold Landry.
That's the other one I was thinking of. So I mean, he's still going to have other people in that line, and maybe with those three, they can make a fairly formidable line, and we'll have to see. And then we have Shaq Barrett, the one season wonder himself. I'm just kidding. He had one really, really good season. Before that, he didn't really have a lot of great seasons. And then this season, he had a pretty all right season on a great defense. I mean, he's their primary pass rusher, along with Jason Pierre-Paul, and he just does a good job. So he's a number one pass rusher who produces numbers, and thanks to a great construction of the front four and great construction of a defense, he's been performing fairly well. So good for him. I think that he has the talent. I don't think you can put up 20 sacks without any talent. That's not luck. So good for him. Next we have Danielle Hunter. He is, or is it Delaney Hunter? I think it's Delaney Hunter.
It's Danielle, I believe.
Yeah,
It's
Danielle.
Not Danielle. It's not Danielle.
It is Danielle.
I'm fairly certain it's Danielle.
He made Trubisky.
Okay, so Delaney Hunter, I think that he
Delaney.
is. No, it's Danielle. It's Danielle Hunter, right? What is
Danielle.
Oh, good for him. Next week, you ever play like video games and like you have that one person on your team who keeps on stealing all the kills, even though you have all the damage. So I feel like this is the situation where one pass rusher. So yeah, and last but not least, we have the Packers with Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith, very talented pass rusher, ex-Raven. We should have kept him. Turned into a top 10 pass rusher easy. The Smith brothers on either side, I think they're both returning, and he's just been consistent since he's left Baltimore, and have had a lot of really, really good seasons. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it back over to Christian and start thinking about my top 5. So
Yeah, so I would like to say through further inspection, Matt, you were wrong. His name is Danielle, like Mike and I were saying. So I think you should check yourself before you wreck yourself and the pronunciation of people's names.
you guys were
But
saying Danielle.
it's Danielle, I believe. It's Danielle, I believe. It's Danielle, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I see what's going on.
Am I in a
No,
am I in a simulation?
we were both saying it's Danielle, I believe. Is this like the Mandela effect? Okay, well it's Danielle, I believe. Matt, uh, a big Bud Dupree guy. Honestly, have no idea anything about him. I haven't can't be bothered to watch any tape on anything. I'm excited because I know he has explosiveness. I've seen that. I'm looking forward to it. I think Shaq Barrett is reasonable here. He had an incredible season, defensive player of the year, all that. But it had such high production he could only falter and fail a little bit, regression, as they call it. But completely natural. I feel wrong that Zadarius Smith is number 6, but his stats just can't lie. I don't know what happened and where he came from, but he just has such rampant production. It's ridiculous. I know where he came from, but like he didn't do that on your team. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, but hey, he's balling out there, and so it's real interesting. Danielle, he's a great player. I don't really have anything to say about him. I feel like he's one of those good, not great people who don't leave a lasting effect on the memory and things like that. But hey, that's a good start to the top 10. Mike, you have anything to add?
I hate so much that Zadarius Smith is that high, but I can't help but I cannot help but agree with it. He's an incredible player, and I think he's what alongside Preston Smith is his.
Yes, they are the
Um,
Smith brothers.
yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I would even say the only person that can really touch be close to where he is Danielle Matt Hunter. Um, he's been really solid too, and it's unfortunate they're both in the Bears division, but those two guys are super solid. You're right, Christian. It is kind of sad that he's having whatever injury, salary issues with the Vikings, but is it sad for me? No. I kind of hope he just wouldn't play with them. Maybe go to the AFC and join the Patriots' new Avengers team or something like that. I don't care. But no, I mean up and down. I agree with it. I would say Danielle would be probably at 7, I'd say. But I mean, other than that, that's pretty spot on.
Alrighty. Well, I guess I'll get in my top 5, and we're gonna start with Chandler Jones. He's come up 3 times this podcast, once incorrectly, once correctly, and now. So he got hurt 4 games in the season, wasn't putting up good numbers at all. 1 sack, 10 pressures. I'm not exactly sure why it was so low. I mean, I know sacks can come in bunches sometimes, depending on the team you're playing. Could just play teams with good offensive lines and just struggled his first couple games, but in the past, like his seasons have been incredible. He's a phenomenal pass rusher. I'm pretty sure that he's like a speed / power guy. He's a good hybrid, and from what I know about him is that he's just a really powerful player, and he really I'm really curious to see what he's going to do this season if JJ Watt can stay healthy, because him and JJ Watt on either side. I know when we played the Texans last season, the Ravens did. JJ Watt is still someone that you have to worry about, and I can't imagine what it would be like with also having a Chandler Jones in there too. So, with that being said, let's hear Mike's thoughts on my number 5 player.
More like Chandelier Jones because he be hanging quarterbacks. Yeah, he's a good player.
All right. Do you have anything else, or should I move on to number 4?
No, he's big agreed. Number 5 guy. The only person I care about, he's below him, so I'm good with
Yeah,
it.
I mean, do you think that he's better than Zadarius Smith, or maybe like someone like Danielle Hunter, or
Yeah, looking like you said, looking at his career stats, absolutely. I mean, they just speak for themselves. Looking at it right now, 19 sacks in 2019, sack leader was 17 in 2017. Hasn't been below double digits until, like you said, last year when he got hurt, and before that was 2014, and that was on, let's see, New England. Yeah, so I mean, he's going to continue to wreck games, and sometimes edge rushers they get better as they age, just like cheese. So except the packaged ones, like the wheels,
I mean, I like the
just
little
age
like a
cheese.
red and like the wax. I like those, but
Yeah, I agree.
I'll
Maybe like fine wine. There we go.
so I'm just gonna move on to number 4.
Oh, hold on, very briefly. Let me explain. There is a fire alarm going off at my apartment, and we are going to handle this situation. And I'll be back once it subsides. Thank you.
All right, so let's just keep on rolling. Unless we should you want to wait? I mean, we can always wait for him, Mike. But
It's up to you, man. We can talk about how our days went. We can talk to the lovely viewers.
hey, Alex, how are you?
I see you there, Jimmy.
Hey, Alex. Yeah. Overall, I think that most of the list is pretty good. I'm kind of excited to see which pass rusher the Ravens end up signing in free agency. To be honest with you, I think that we need one. I'm not exactly sure who. I wouldn't mind who's the dude from the Chargers? What is his name? Melvin Ingram. I wouldn't mind Melvin Ingram on the Ravens. He would fit pretty nicely if we get him cheap enough.
I think the missing piece to your defense is, like you said, I think it really is some guy that can rush the quarterback. You have some pretty good coverage linebackers, great cornerbacks. Still have a hole where the guy who banged his brother
Earl
left.
Thomas.
Earl
So
Thomas. We do have
yes,
a little
yes.
bit of a problem there. We have 2 strong safeties, and we don't have anyone to play a free safety. So I'm hoping to get a free safety guy, a natural free safety in the draft. Someone to just actually be able to go sideline to sideline in that way. But I mean, I'm happy with Earl Thomas's replacement in a way. He's just a big hitter, but he when he hit, he's a very good player though. He sometimes over pursues. I mean, he's young. I mean, he just started this year, and he didn't even think he was going to get started until he didn't think he was going to start until someone got punched in the face. But
Until someone almost got killed by their wife.
So, Mike, what do you think the Bears' needs are in terms of defensive outlook? I know you guys had Kyle Fuller get shipped off, and
yeah, man,
Akeem
that
Hicks
is.
may be traded. We'll see what happens there. But
I just had flashbacks like I was a nom or something. I don't know why we traded Fuller, cut Fuller. Would have made more sense to trade him and at least get. Gosh, he's worth a third or a fourth or a second, something around there. I can't. It'd be a stretch to say a first, but I mean he's a top 10 corner, so we're gonna need somebody to fill his shoes. Jalen Johnson is great. Don't get me wrong. But is he good enough to fill that role and without a good supporting cast? No. We still need somebody at free safety, but other than that, man, our defense is super solid. I'm pretty excited for it. It's one of the things I look forward to when it comes to Bears seasons. I could forget the offense, but defense usually pretty exciting. So just a few pieces left.
Quick update. We have had a roommate meeting and decided not to evacuate. I repeat, we have decided not to evacuate during the. Yeah,
That's
thank
smart.
Mike, that was actually a good preview to our next podcast. We're gonna be doing cornerbacks, where Kyle Fuller will likely not be a top 10 corner on my list, but we will see. I think I'm gonna do my due diligence, make sure that I have enough information to back up everything that I say, and we'll see what happens. But I think we're gonna move on. I'm gonna go on to T.J. Watt. Now, why isn't he number 1 after the season he had? It's because I think T.J. Watt is overrated. I think that a lot of his production comes from scheme. It also comes from having a top 15 pass rusher on the other side. and it comes from having two great linebackers in the middle. So I think he benefits a lot from having. I think he benefits a lot more than some of these other players do. So overall, is he a good pass rusher? Yes. Is he one of the best in the league? Yes. Is he top 5 or top 3? Absolutely not. I don't believe he's top 3. I think that covering when he's not rushing, he's also very good. He's a very good player, and I think he's definitely better than like Chandler Jones, and he definitely has potential to get even better. But right now, I just have 3 other players above him, and I think those 3 players are fairly interchangeable. I think 1 and 2 are definitely there. I think that's about how I feel. But I think with TJ Watt, I think he's not in like the very top tier, but he's the best second tier player, and I think that it really shows in his game. I think that he's he produces a lot of pressures. He had a great season. He's had a lot of great seasons. I'm kind of curious to see what happens now that Bud Dupree leaves. I know that the Steelers are really good at like drafting players around the defense, pulling them out of like low draft picks, especially on the defense. So yeah, so I have him at number 4. Thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, that's reasonable. Looking at his stats, he was the sack leader with 15, which is pretty low for being a sack leader. But I mean, I'm still not gonna say that's bad. At number 4, yeah, I could see that. We could also back up and say, that those Chandler Jones, Zadarius Smith, those guys are better than him just kind of from their track record. But unfortunately for them, they're more on the downward slope of their career, whereas he is not. He's kind of on the rise, but he definitely benefited from having, like you said, top 15 rusher alongside him. So very reasonable at 4. Big agree.
Yeah, and I think another thing is I forgot what I was going to say. So I'm just going to move on to 3. I'm going to go with Joey Bosa at number 3. I think he didn't have a great season, but he got hurt. He was hurt for a total of 4 games, and I know like it's not a perfect conversion, but I did. Hey, what if he did play those 4 games and he would have had as many pressures as TJ Watt? He also played across from Melvin Gordon on a decent defense. I think that their defense isn't as good as it was in like 2018 range, but I think overall, Joey Bosa is a great player, really strong, has been awesome since he's come out. He's definitely better than his brother. I'm kind of curious whether he's going to be able to keep this positioning. He isn't. He doesn't really have like the whole super elite pass rusher vibe in the media hype that comes along with it. But for me, I think that he's definitely top 3. And if the Ravens play him this season, he's gonna be one of the players I look out for, and I'm worried about constantly. And I'm hoping that he matches up against someone like Ronnie who can really hold him off. But any thoughts on Joey Bosa at 3, higher or lower? What do you think?
Yeah, again, another tough one, and we're getting to the nitty gritty here. I mean, looking at stats and the small knowledge that I know of the Chargers team, I'd say he's probably not deserving of being top 3. Definitely top 10, but he did play alongside Melvin Ingram, and I'm looking at both of them right now. Melvin Ingram didn't play in 2020. Joey Bosa did for 12 games, logged 7.5 sacks. Not terrible. Top 3 material, arguable. I can't say much about it, but just stats alone, no. But of course, you can know something that I don't, and he does have the Bosa blood in him, so maybe I'm misspeaking here.
I'll quickly interject and say I believe that TJ Watt is far and away a better player than Joey Bosa. I think you said he's not deserving to be top 4 in any circumstance, but I think he's easily top 3, arguably 2. So I'll just leave with that since I can't speak for that long.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think you're wrong. So
Oh no,
that's the end of the day. I think I've
can't
seen a lot
refute.
more. I've seen a lot more of TJ Watt. I mean, we'll see what he does this season, but I think he's still going to produce about 10 sacks. Again, I think he's a top 5 pass rusher, but I just don't think I don't think he creates the matchup problems. I know there's many times that we've just thrown a tight end on him and felt comfortable with that. So yeah, and in terms of Joey Bosa, I didn't see that Melvin Ingram was hurt this season, so that's kind of curious. And I know Joey Bosa got hurt. He would have had 10 sacks and 60 pressures. I said I did that conversion earlier, so that's 60 pressures is a pretty good season. I don't know if it would have actually been, probably would have been around 50, 55, maybe more sacks, maybe less sacks. I mean, there's some interval there, but overall, I think it's pretty good. Next, we're gonna go with, yes, I actually did do that conversion, Christian, with Bud Dupree, which is why he's so high with only 8 sacks and 42 pressures. He would have had 11 and a half sacks. That's one of the things I looked at when I went back to you. I think, I originally had him around like 15, 16, just because from what I like what I knew about him. And then once I saw those stats, I was like, yeah, man, he's a lot better player than what I remember. I remember he got hurt in that Ravens game, so it was kind of upsetting because I like him more than TJ Watt, but it is what it is. And at number 2, arguably could be number 1, we have Myles Garrett of the Browns. I think he is a scary player. He pressures like no one's business. He's a killer on the field. He is actually decent in recovering, like getting back to, if a running back gets through, he holds the edge really well. I believe he hurt Trace McSorley and let Lamar come back in the poop game. It was a not poop, but it is what it is. And so yeah, I mean, I think overall he is a phenomenal pass rusher, arguably the best pass rusher in the league. Has everything you want in a pass rusher: bend, power, speed, everything. So I mean, he was number 1 pick in the draft, so it's one pick that the Browns got right. So good for them, I guess. So yeah, any comments on that, Mike? Do you think he's deserving of number 1, or do you think he needs to be any lower?
Absolutely not deserving of number 1. Definitely top 5. Number 2, yeah, I think I would put him right up there. You know, like I said, I think the player before, going off of stats, that's kind of all I had. I don't really have a lot of knowledge, but with Myles Garrett, I've seen him enough, just watching him play the Ravens and absolutely dunking on them to know that he is a solid player. I mean, like you said, an absolute quarterback killer, literally takes their helmets off and swings at them, just out for blood all game long. Um, and I think that can be why the Browns were just so solid on defense last year. He's just a force, takes up a lot of bodies to cover him, still gets the pressure, still gets the sacks. Only played 14 games. The one time he had a full 16 games, he got, let's see, he got 13 and a half sacks here. So I mean, absolute solid player. And one thing I like looking at when I look at edge rushers is to be honest with you, their physique. I think that goes a long way in helping them kind of rush to the quarterback. Just having that raw strength would help. So one thing I look for is to kind of look a little bit like me. So kind of had that. I kind of have that edge rusher body in the making. So I kind of get it. He's a great player. Would definitely put him at 2.
Am I hearing things, or is he's saying that?
I think your alarm might be fuzzing up
Makes
your brain or something. I don't know, but yeah.
All right, I'm gonna roll with number 1. We have Khalil Mack, baby,
Oh
as Mike
yeah,
affectionately says. So I think that Mack could be anywhere from the 1, 2, 3 range. I put him number 1 just because, I mean, he's just been a consistently dominant pass rusher all the way from when he won Defensive Player of the Year in the uh, Aaron Donald era, which is hard to do because he gets all of the media hype, and I honestly one of the few players that actually deserves it. But yeah, so Khalil Mack, he is a dominant force on the line. I think that him and Akeem Hicks make a great duo, along with their other guy who isn't very good. Mike, what's his name? The guy that you hate?
Yeah. Oh, small cob Rob Quinn.
Robert Quinn. Yeah, that's right. Quinn came from the Cowboys. Didn't do too hot, but overall, I mean, he's constantly double teamed, constantly. He is the focus of the Bears defense. I mean, that's why they traded so much for him, and it's why they paid him a bunch. And I think that he may not be worth every dollar. I think they might have overpaid in hindsight, but every dollar in pick actually. But overall, I mean, they paid for a really good player, and that's what they got. I think once you get into like the top 2 to 3, you can kind of interchange them however you'd like. But overall, I mean, I think that he's a great player. He's everything you want in a pass rusher, like Myles Garrett and like Joey Bosa. So, so yeah, that is my number one this list. Mike, do you have anything to say about Khalil Mack being number one? Do you think he's about right where he is, or do you think he should be any lower?
Oh, I got a lot to say about Khalil Mack. Only good things. He's my hall pass player. Absolutely love this guy. He's been solid for us ever since rightfully so, traded a ton of stuff for him. He really kind of gave us a fire that we didn't have before in 2018. That's why we were just, far and away, in my opinion, stats can go lay an egg or something, but the best defense in the NFL that year. I think some people can make arguments that, hey, his stats aren't as good as a lot of other people. So when we were looking at his stats here, he's never really been a sack leader, but when it comes to tackles, just everything else he does, it's an absolutely solid player. Like you said, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think you're absolutely right. Like when stats don't agree with you, just throw them out the window.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're. I think that's what you're alluding to, and I think you're right with Khalil Mack. I think that he's a phenomenal player, and I think if we actually looked in a lot of the advanced stats, in all seriousness, I think that he'd be one of the top 5 players, if not top 2. So I was just joking with the stats thing, but
hey, we've had it a number of times in our group chat where statistics will be relevant until they do no longer fit the narrative, and then all of a sudden, and that's from all of us here. So that also, I'm back. The alarm should be off now for about a minute or two, and we're hoping that it continues.
I'm glad you didn't catch on fire, man.
I didn't.
Do you wanna recap the top 5? Have your thoughts?
I have no thoughts other than I think T.J. Watt's better than Joey Bosa. The rest, fine. I did like your little dig at Myles Garrett being a killer on the field. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was a wild turn of events. I don't know why they made him the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Apparently, he's real nice off the field, but
he's a great guy. I mean, sometimes anger gets the moment of you, and gets the best of you. And Mike, would you like to care to elaborate when you mean that Khalil Mack was a hall pass player? What does that mean? What are you referencing when you say that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm more than happy to go into that. He's a standout guy, standout player. I think that theoretically, all right, hear me out here. Theoretically, if Khalil Mack walked up to me and said, "Hey, man, I need you to do some stuff for me so that we can win the Super Bowl," I'd say, "What is it? What is it, Khalil? What can I do for you?" He's, gosh, just an absolute man. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about him. So I think you guys know what a hall pass means. So
yeah,
if
so
there's
you
one
can go
guy
to the bathroom and you won't get in trouble.
Yep. So he can walk into the bathroom with me, and we can, do
some trivia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're gonna learn a lot.
Speaking of trivia,
Yeah, let's actually move into some trivia. We tried to do it last episode with Alex. Didn't really go as planned. We did 2000s, so we're gonna move. Maybe we can hop back on that with Alex if he ever rejoins us. We'll continue from there. But let's start right here, right now, with 2010s trivia. I feel like it might be better suited for Mr. Mike.
Oh, can I ask one question before we move forward?
Yes, hit me with it.
All right, our first trivia question: who is Deon Sanders?
Oh, Go ahead, Matt. I think it's one
Oh,
for
I
you.
was going to say he was a wide receiver for the Cowboys.
Um,
That actually
I,
is true, by the way. He played wide
he was
receiver.
he was a great baseball player.
So he has since learned. Nary a few years ago, we had asked Mike something about Deion Sanders, and he just looked at us plainly in the face and said, "Who's that?" And from then, we've educated him and we've moved forward. So now he knows who Deion Sanders is. But I just felt like I had to bring that up. Interesting little trivia.
In my defense, the only time I've ever seen him do anything was when he's been what is he on ESPN? Is that what he
Yeah,
does? Or he
an
An
was
analyst.
analyst, yeah.
analyst. And I mean he's head coaching a college, like a D3, D2 college now. So trying to take the subject, out of the way here, but great head coach. Great guy.
Great head coach, great guy. And you know who else is a pretty cool guy?
Me.
Alejandro Villanueva. So in 2010, Alejandro Villanueva went undrafted. He later established himself at the left tackle position for the Steelers. What was his original draft position or what was his original position when he entered the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, what, like his draft position?
No, not his draft spot. He went undrafted. What was his
Oh.
position?
Oh, what did he used to play? Oh, okay. I genuinely have no idea. I would reckon he's potentially he's a lineman now, so he's probably either a D lineman or a tight end. And I guess I would go tight end.
All right, Mike, what is your guess?
Yeah, thinking about just big guys, and being on the Cowboys, you got to be pretty versatile on that line. I know they got a lot of athletic guys. I know
I mean, he was on
absolutely.
the Eagles.
Is he on the Cowboys?
No, he was on the Eagles and then went to the Steelers.
Apologies.
I guess he was signed by the Eagles, but yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna take a guess and say linebacker or something. I really don't know.
All right. Well, it was topical for today's topic. It was a defensive end. So
That makes sense now.
yeah. The next question is the controversy which became known as Deflategate erupted during a game between the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. In which part of the 2014 to 2015 season was this game played? AKA, what is the significant name of the game?
Deflategate.
I know this.
Mike, do you have a guess?
I have no idea. I'm gonna guess Deflategate because Tom Brady cheats.
Well, it's Deflategate is the nickname of the game. What was the game actually called in outside of Deflategate? Could be Week 16, the Hall of Fame Ball, first game of the year, something like
Wild
that.
Card Weekend.
I'm pretty sure it was definitely in the playoffs. Because no, it was the AFC Championship because everyone gave a fuss about it in the Super Bowl and was all up in arms about it. Rightfully so, because he cheated. He's a cheater.
Exactly. It was the AFC Championship game. They would have lost anyway, the Colts, but it might not have helped that there was this whole conspiracy going on.
Alrighty. So in 2014, who was the first pick of the draft?
I'm sorry, what year?
2014. First pick of the
2014.
draft.
That is prior to the young Mariota season.
Ooh, what?
Who was before Mariota? Oh, this is defensive end themed. When was Myles Garrett?
Myles Garrett was 2018,
17.
right?
Oh,
17.
He's 2018. He was 18.
I have also
Yeah.
gotten it again. It's the young zero sack wonder.
No, it couldn't have been.
Jadeveon Clowney.
Is it? Oh, your guy.
It was Jadeveon Clowney. Garrett was 17 because Baker was 18. They had two
That's
first
right.
picks in the draft 2 years in a row.
I mean, look at them now. They're doing way
Already.
better.
I hate it.
They're doing great. Good things.
Okay. Ooh, this is a fun one. I like this one.
Ooh,
Who
I'm
led the
excited.
NFL in passing yards in 2010?
In 2010.
In 2010. It's a good one.
Oh, okay. So, by the way, you spoke this in brevity, so I believe it's going to be Joe Flacco.
No, it is not Joe Flacco.
Oh,
No,
thank God! Thank God!
Wasn't that the year Peyton whooped some butt, or was that? Was he?
No.
Was he?
He was some butt when he was a Bronco, and that was like in 2013. I want to say.
Oh man, I guess he was still on the Colts at this point.
Yes, he
yeah,
was.
you're right. I would say Brady or Rodgers, but I really don't think so. I know Rodgers was in 2012, I think. I'm gonna go Manning, shot in the dark.
No, it is one Phillip Rivers.
Boo.
Because he had like only 5 kids at that point, not 19.
Yeah, he wasn't so distracted at home.
All right. Let's see. A lot of these are about Deflategate.
I'm the written tootin'est cowboy in the West.
Okay, so an AFC head coach switched teams during the 2015 offseason. This individual coached the Jets from 2009 to 2014 before moving to the Bills for the 2015 season.
Oh, Rex Ryan.
It is Rex Ryan. That was good. That was quick. I like it. All right.
Rex
Next
Ryan.
one.
I didn't cheat on that one.
I don't think you would have had time to cheat, but
okay.
Who was the 12th pick in the 2014 draft? And proceeded to no wait. Don't worry, there's more to the question. And proceeded to have a highlight reel season, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I was going to say Ryan Kerrigan because his defensive ends up until this point. But I don't think he said he won Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2014?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's think back.
So I think Ryan Kerrigan's old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Who was 2014?
12th pick. So, I mean, the pick really doesn't matter. It's just who had a lot of highlights and won Offensive Rookie of the Year around 2014.
A lot of highlights?
I feel like...
I'm giving some hints here.
I feel like Todd Gurley could be a shout, but I don't think he's that old.
No, I don't think
he was.
25.
Oh, it's 2021. Are you what? Bro, I feel like it's 2018.
You okay, man?
No.
You breathe up a little too much smoke?
Yeah, I've been huffing hand sanitizer this whole fucking podcast.
Yeah, something's got to get you over the edge. Oh, man, I really don't even have an educated guess here.
I looked it up. I know who it is.
He had one really good highlight against the Cowboys.
Oh, was it Otto Beckingham Jr.?
Beckingham.
It was Beckingham Jr. Okay. During the 2010s, who was the only playoff team to make the playoffs with a losing record?
Seahawks.
The Bengals.
It was the Seahawks.
Yeah, they won they won their division at 7-9. It was so stupid.
I'm still mad.
And the Washington football team just did that too, correct? Were they 7-9? Were they 8?
Yeah, they had a losing season.
Yeah, I thought so. Trick question there, Matt.
Yeah, well, Matt, this is 2020.
It's 2020. It's not during the 2010s. Get out of here.
All right, so when you ask that question again in 9 years, I'll know it.
Let's go.
All right. Alex Smith has been seated or put on the bench or traded for 2 quarterbacks. Name both of those quarterbacks. Christian, you can get one, and Mike, you get the other. Do you know him?
Oh, well, I know one of them. It's painfully obvious.
Okay, Mike, take your guesses.
Oh,
Mike,
man.
take the easy one.
Dude, I have no knowledge. I'm going to
Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, he didn't. Okay, I'm thinking like Patrick Mahomes was on a team, got traded.
No.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
No, Alex Smith got traded away because of these 2 players.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes would be one of them.
Dude, the god Chad Henne.
No. Do you have another guess? I'll tell you. It was on the 49ers. He was on the 49ers, and the player actually took them to the Super Bowl, if I do recall.
Oh, wow. We're going that deep, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Mike, who's your guess?
I mean, that's either. I mean, it's obviously either Jimmy G or Kaepernick.
Okay, I will give you a hint. This player has a better Madden rating than Alex Smith currently in Madden. Is it Jimmy G or is it Colin Kaepernick?
He has a better rating than half the players, and he has not touched the field since he laid an egg a few years back.
Yep, it is Colin.
Okay, and then I will do a few more questions. Who led the league in receiving yards over this period?
Oh, bruh.
Actually, wait. This question doesn't make any sense.
Sorry, the
Julio Jones.
I don't. So here's the thing. I actually don't know because I thought the question was over this time, and then I was looking at like the stats, and I was like, well, that's not right. But the question is, who led the league in receiving yards? But it doesn't. Oh, it's 2014. Oh, who led the receiving yards in 2014 with 1,698?
Was it Otto?
Who?
Megatron?
No, I think Mega. No, he was still in the league, but he was close to retiring at this point.
I mean, he retired at like 31, so it's still pretty young.
Who are you saying, Christian?
I asked if it was Odell.
It was not Odell.
Oh.
It was. Oh no, Calvin Johnson wasn't league. It was Antonio Brown, the Steelers. Calvin Johnson had 1,077. So, Antonio Brown had 500 yards more than everyone else. What a man. Okay.
In 2014?
Yes. Yeah, 2014.
500 more. Okay.
Alrighty. So here is my last question. It's gonna be Ravens based, so it's gonna be fun. After the Baltimore Ravens loss 28-31 in overtime to the Washington Redskins in Week 14 of the 2012 season, Ravens coach John Harbaugh made a difficult decision and fired the team's offensive coordinator, Cam Cameron. Which former head coach ended up replacing Cameron? This former head coach was in the Lions. I added the Lions thing because I know he went to the Lions after he left the Ravens. So.
Oh, Lord. Shit.
Think of recent Lion coaches.
Some
of them were controversial fires.
It wouldn't be.
One guy went positive, didn't he?
He took fired to the playoffs and then got fired.
Sounds like what the Bears did to Lovie Smith.
I was actually thinking that. I was like, it sounds
similar. That's what I was thinking of. Lovie Smith. Who am I thinking of? In general,
I believe he may be on the Texans. I think he might be a Texans coach. I'm gonna double check that.
Caldwell.
It is Jim Caldwell.
Yeah.
And he is.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at coach right now.
The Lions head coach.
He was a lot of head coaches.
He is quarterback.
He was also coach of the Colts at one point, which is why I think I remember.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a good last question. But yeah, Christian, why don't you wrap us up here?
Yeah, I want to thank all of you for listening to the podcast for today. I want to thank Matt for hosting this up, keeping track of everything while I had to run during that fire drill. I want to thank Mike for being a great guest. I'm gonna let Mike have his final remarks on his experience today, anything he wants to say, and then I will kick it off and to end it. Mike, what do you have for us to end the show off?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really do appreciate it. Sorry I didn't have a ton of knowledge on the different edge rushers and everything. All I knew was Khalil Mack was number one, and I kind of rode with that into this. So just an absolute honor to be a part of my favorite podcast ever in the world, ever, period, space, period. Thank you.
Yas, Queen. That's the beauty of our sports podcast. It's ours and not yours, so you can't be upset with how we perform in it. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below. We're trying to get this thing rolling. We've been we've been keeping up with a good schedule. We want to keep it going. We've been consistent. We appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you for listening. Have a good day. Bop, 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 bop.